morning, everybody. I have got yet another cough and a cold, and we've had quite an eventful week. I think I need to raise you because I'm having to bend down like this to see you, so hang on a second. It's Monday, it's November the 28th, and I have been very busy last week. Monday and Tuesday, I was looking after the grandchildren, as I told you, because my daughter-in-law was in hospital with pneumonia. Wednesday, my son said go home, so I went home on the Wednesday. Thursday, he rang up to say she's coming out. He said she looks like death warmed up, but she's coming out. And I think it was because on her ward there was a flu case, and they didn't want her to catch flu on top of the pneumonia, so they were deciding to send her out. So she came home on the Thursday, and I asked on Thursday afternoon what she's like, and he said, oh, she's not looking too great. So I said, well, it will take more than a few weeks. This is going to be a long recuperation. It's going to take at least 2 to 3 months. And then on the Friday morning, I get this text message saying, you couldn't wish this on anybody. She's just come out of hospital. I've just tested for COVID. Now, he teaches in a school with 2,000 pupils, and he has managed to avoid COVID for the past 2.5 years since it started. And she got COVID last year. He even managed to avoid her in the house, not catch it. He's gone and got COVID. He thinks he probably got COVID from the hospital. And he said, I wouldn't care. I wore my mask all the time, except when I was drinking coffee. So I had to take the mask off to drink the coffee. Obviously, it must have caught it then. So he had to be isolated. She had to be whisked to her mother's. On that Friday, she was supposed to be going back for a checkup the next day to check that everything's going well. She had been sent home early because somebody on her ward had flu, and they didn't want her to catch flu. So because that would have created an even bigger issue for her. So her mother, who doesn't drive, had to take her in the taxi. They went to the hospital. Her infection rate is down, but her clotting rate was still high, hopefully coming down. Apparently this is what happens with pneumonia. So my son had to isolate, and he said, Mum, could you possibly Friday afternoon pick the kids up from school and then take them to your house for the weekend? So we have had two grandsons again for a second weekend, and at the same time his lordship's daughter and 2 children came. So we've had a little mass get together, and they loved it. The boys loved it because the boys were meeting the girls again. They said, are they coming? And I said yes. So they were thrilled to bits, had a great weekend. Returned the kids on Sunday night, and now it's Monday and life is getting back to normal, except I have another cough and cold, which I've probably caught off the kids. But never mind. Anyway, I am sat here. I have been, let me turn you round. So I am currently assembling on my small desk space. I could have gone into the dining room, done it on the table, but instead I'm doing it on my small desk space. Worst thing you could ever do, because it is a massive pattern. This from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's more to add, is the length of the poncho. Now, I know there are a lot of 6 foot people who are 6 foot tall in this world, but for a 5'1" person, this is an awful lot. I'm going to have to cut off the bottom here. Or I'm going to have to shorten in some way. But I'm busy doing it. I've assembled the DIY one. Where's the DIY one? This is the DIY one that I've assembled. I've written on there, Dibby Billy, poncho dressing gown. Assembled that one. I'll turn you around now. Hold on. I've assembled the DIB one. Well, I've stuck it together. Pretty straightforward. That needs to be shortened as well. I had to take at least 1.5 pages off the bottom, or a page off the bottom. This assembly one, I can't say I'm impressed by the PDF. I haven't had to do an assembly line PDF before. I do like doing PDFs, and I think it's, if you like jigsaws, you like doing PDFs. But where's the camera? Say, if you like doing jigsaws, you like doing PDFs. But this one has proved quite I wouldn't say challenging. It's just that it's the matching of it's the matching of the pages that's the annoying thing. They're not easy to match. There is a lot of overlap, and I like to have. There's a couple of patterns when you have PDFs where when you come to two pages, say for example that one and that one, when you're sticking them together, you've got one that touches there and it overlaps and it just fits nicely. You just put your glue underneath and it glues. This one, that cross has to match that cross, which means you've got to try and find your lines. And I don't know, it doesn't stick as nicely as I was expected to. Though, incidentally, those two pages don't stick together, which is why they don't match. Did they match there? Is that it? That one? No? Anyway, I'm busy sticking this together. Eventually I'll get it done. Whether I'll actually get to making it before Christmas, I don't know. But I'm keen to. But probably I wouldn't be wearing it until next... Oh, hold on. Probably I wouldn't be wearing it until after Christmas anyway. So I'll get it cut out. I'll get the pattern assembled. And then I'll decide whether I'm going to put it together or not. Or whether I'm going to make it up this time. So I'll finish this off first and then I'm going to come back and talk to you. What I am pleased about is that the assembly line gives you a layout, and that has helped me because I'm doing it on this table. I'm doing piece by piece rather than doing a big piece. I'm doing that section and then that section and then that section. So by having that diagram and the numbers, the page numbers, it's helping me find out where I'm supposed to be. I've just realised why I have a great big long piece which is going on forever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm not quite finished here. It's quite a long piece. It's because, if I can find my pattern here, it's this one here that goes all the way up there, and it's got the back seam there, and I'm assuming that one is the front half and one's the back half. Although how can you have... No, it's a side. Ah, right. So this is going to go over the shoulder. So that's your shoulder line. And then it's going to go down each side. And those are the side vents. So I'm going to have two of those. That's going to be my shoulder, which is why it's so long. So my actual length is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. Approximately 4.5. Because that's less than one there. So it's going to be 4.5 lengths front and 4.5 lengths back. Right, well, I'm hoping you can see this because this is going to be the side panel. That dotted line is going to be the shoulder. And it goes right, if I stand back as much as I can, I've got loads of paper on the floor. It goes almost down to the floor. Don't know if you can see that. Actually, I've got on the wrong shoulder because it's got to be like that. It's got to be, where are we? There's the shoulder. It's got to go right down there, and that's going to be touching the floor on me, so I'm going to have to shorten it somewhere. I'll probably have to shorten it round about the middle of the waist because that's got a little vent on the side. If I shorten the bottom, I'm going to have less of a vent. So I'm going to shorten it by the middle of the waist. Probably a bit better if it's kind of mid-leg. There, so I'm going to take it up by about that much. By about that much. I don't know if you can see. 25 to 1 in midday, just after midday, 25 to 1, getting incredibly dark. But I wanted to show you something. His lordship bought a guitar the other day, an electric guitar, 12 string, and he's paid £150. And I jokingly said, how much have you paid? And he says, £12.50. This is £150. And I said, and you complain about all the parcels that come in through the door for me. I said, I'm expecting a parcel in the next few days. And I said, it's nowhere near as much as that. So for one guitar, I could get about 10 or 12 parcels. So that justified it because I've ordered some more fabric. And it's from the same place as from Pound Fabrics. I'm quite liking the fact that they do cheap fabrics. And it's a big bag. A big bag. It's a big bag, and I'm wondering if there's any paperwork in here. I can't see any paperwork. So I'll pull it out the bag and see if there's any paperwork in. massive bag. That didn't do my chest any good. No, nothing in there. Let's see what there is. Well, what I was going to say is, as you know, I'm doing the assembly line poncho, and I've also downloaded the DIY poncho. And the DIY poncho, it's really for a dressing gowny type of thing. So as I was looking through Pound Fabrics, I noticed they had some dressing gown type fabric on offer, and it was 3 meters for £7. So I thought, right, I'm going to get that. And the 3 meters for £7. They only had a choice between a pale blue or a pink. So I got the pink, and this is what it's like. It's like teddy bear fabric. It's lovely and soft, really, really soft fabric. Now that's looking a bit pale, but it's like a yogurty pink. It's gorgeous pink. Let's see if I can get that there. It's a gorgeous yogurty pink. So I thought, £7, 3 meters. I shall get that, and I'll make a yogurty pink. I think I'll probably make this with the DIY rather than a poncho, but we'll see. Let's see what turns out. But that one, yogurty pink, I won't unwrap it all because it's very just like a teddy bear type fabric. And there's going to be loads left for me to use for something else. Then what else did I get? Then I got, oh, there's the paper. That was 3 meters of pre-cuddle soft Velboa fabric in pink. And it was one batch of 3 meters, and look at that, 3 meters, £7.50. Then the next one was plain water resist. Oh, I fancied getting. I noticed a lot of you've actually bought all that waterproof stuff. So I thought, oh, I'll see what else they've got, and I saw some black. And this is like, is this the one that I've got? Yeah. It's plain black water resistant polyester fabric, 3 meters at I got 2 meters at £2.75 a meter. So this was £5.50. It doesn't feel like waterproof, but it feels like quite a nice, feels like a cotton, but it must be water. Does it say waterproof? Water resistant polyester. And it has a lovely feeling, it's a lovely soft feel, really nice and soft. So I figured I might try that and make something out of that. Maybe it's even waterproof pants. You never know, water resistant pants. But I got 2 meters of that, and I think it's about what's the usual width? Can't remember. 150 centimeters wide. But that was one. Again, I'll not open it up because it's just black fabric. And then the next two that I got was a plain dark grey boucle fabric, and I thought that looked quite nice. I thought it'd make a nice pinafore type of dress, or I don't know, I just thought it looked nice. It's £3.75 a meter, and I got 2 meters, and it's lovely soft fabric. It's really nice. Look at that. It's a lovely soft, feels like a soft, I don't know what it is. It can't be polyester because it's coming away there at the edge. It's fraying, so it's like a wool. That is like a navy bluish colour, navy bluish polyester boucle, and I just I was envisioning some kind of a pinafore type dress that I could wear a shirt or a blouse underneath. So that looks really, I'm liking that. And that cost me £3.75 a metre, and I got 2 metres, so that's £7.50. And then lastly, let's hope that stays there. And then lastly, I took a fancy to this one, which is the mini herringbone suiting fabric in silver. And it was £2.50 a metre, and I got 3 metres. And this is like, I thought it would be quite nice. It's like a suiting fabric. Can you see, like what a man would have on his suit? Like a man's jackety suit, and you could have it that way or that way. Again, I figured a nice spring come autumn type of dress that I could wear or make, that you could wear a blouse underneath. I rather like that. So those are the 4 purchases that I bought. Chuck that over there. I'll have to put them away in a minute. Oops. And that came to, for all of that, it came to £28 plus £5.50 tax plus £4.99 shipping, and so the total cost was £32.99. So I think that that's not a bad price. Not a bad price at all. And I'm going to get probably, well, as I say, a couple of dresses, dressing gown, and something water resistant. Sorry, so this is not sounding right. So that was what I was buying. Now this keeps going dark and light, probably because of the light. Maybe that turns it dark, and then yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go back and get on with my work, and then I might come back and see you later. You never know. This rascal is sat in my bias binding lid, aren't you? You little rascal, aren't you? Eh? Are you a troublemaker? Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Good morning. It's, what is it? Oh, it's Friday. Friday.
Fish day.
Fish day, yes. And we're walking with the dog. We just stepped over her. You'll see her go past in a minute. There she goes. We're just taking her for a walk down our lovely country. What do you call it? It's a
nature walk.
Nature walk. It's at the back of our estate where we live. I put a coat on, a gilet, to keep warm, with a thick jumper, and he's got his gilet and his thick jumper on. Oh, and I'm boiling. But look what we keep finding. I'll turn you around. Someone has just posted these all over the place. Outbound Matters. Say yes to new adventures. Getting you to go walking.
And that picture.
That picture is the Lambton. Is it Lambton? The Lambton worm wrapped itself around the. Oh, do you know?
I have to do the song.
I'll have to do it. Wish lads had your gobs, I'll tell yous all an awful story. Wish lads had your gobs, I'll tell you about the worm. That's all I know. But if I find out what it is, it's about a worm that wrapped itself around Penshaw Monument. That's it. Penshaw Monument. And if you want to know what I was singing, Wish lads had your gobs, for those of you who don't come from this area, means shh boys, keep your mouth shut. I'll tell you all an awful story. Shh, boys, keep your mouth shut. I'll tell you about the worm. And the rest of the story, I can't remember. But basically, the worm wraps itself round that monument. And so somebody kills it, I think, doesn't he? Somebody kills it with a sword.
Yeah, probably St. George.
St. George? No, I don't know if it is. But I bet you some of you viewers will be saying, woman, do you not know it's this? Welcome back, my friend. Pull up a chair, order a drink, and let me tell you the legend of the Lambton Worm. Now, the young heir of Lambton Castle was a wild and rebellious youth who concerned himself very little with his duties as the future lord. He scorned his tutors, defied his father's wishes, and broke every rule that was laid down for his guidance, merely for the pleasure of doing what was forbidden. When he was asked to speak clearly and politely as became a gentleman, he deliberately spoke in a rude and disrespectful voice as if he knew no better. On Sundays, when he was asked to go to church, he put on his oldest clothes and went fishing. On one Sunday, he sat casting his line into the River Wear not far from the castle. The country folk nudged one another as they passed him, saying under their breath, "Look, there's ne'er-do-well again." And it seemed that they had good reason to speak to him in this manner, for every time the youth pulled in his line and saw no fish on it, he cursed the river, the day, and his bad luck with oaths loud enough for all to overhear. He stayed fishing until church time was over and then prepared to go. But as he drew in his line for the last time, he felt something on the hook. He thought he had caught no less than a fine salmon, for it pulled till the rod was bent like a bow. But when he finally landed the catch, he saw that it was no more than a long, evil-looking worm that wriggled and wrapped itself around the line. "Have you had any luck?" inquired a man who was walking by. "Bah!" said the young man. "I think I've caught the devil himself." So disgusted was he with the black wriggling worm that he tore it from the hook and flung it down the well, which stood hard by. The man stopped to look down into the well and see the strange catch. It lay on the sand at the bottom, half like a newt and half like an eel. It had 9 holes on each side of its mouth, and it squirmed with pain and with fury at being trapped in the well. "That beast tokens no good," said the man, and went on. The stranger's suspicions were well founded. As the years passed, and John Lambton grew into a man and went abroad to fight in the Crusades, the worm lay unheeded in the well and grew until it had the strength to climb out. One day it slithered over the edge and made off to a large rock which jutted up out of the bed of the river. It lay basking there by day, and by night it betook itself to a hill near the castle. From these resting places it began to make expeditions and grew to be the terror of the whole countryside. It devoured the sheep and the lambs and sucked the cows dry. When the flocks were kept in the byres and the folds, it trampled over the cornfields and tore up the meadows. The old Lord of Lambton, heavy with age and grieved at the departure of his son, was at his wits' end to know what to do with the serpent. In the end he sought the advice of his old steward, a man of great age and experience. "Steward," he said, "you must devise some means of ridding us of this monster. My labourers are leaving the land and my crops are ruined." "Sir," said the steward, "I can't rid you of the worm. No man here is brave enough and skilful enough to kill it. But perhaps we can keep it from doing too much damage. There stands in your courtyard a long trough from which the horses drink. Let us fill that with milk, and perhaps that will satisfy the worm." The Lord decided to adopt the steward's plan, and he ordered the trough to be filled every night with new milk. It took the yield of 9 of the finest oxen in Lambton to fill the trough, but the Lord didn't mind the expense, for every morning the worm came to drink and appeared satisfied. It spent the rest of the day sleeping coiled round the hill or the rock in the river. Sometimes someone would dip his can in the trough when no one was looking, and take some of the milk home for his own use, but the worm always knew when it had been robbed. If any milk was short, it flew into a rage and, rushing into the park, lashed its tail round the trees and pulled them up by the roots. So terrible was its fury that the men soon learned to respect its wishes. Many a gallant knight journeyed to Lambton and tried to slay the worm, but the monster defied all attempts to kill it. No sooner had it been cut in 2 than it came together again. No matter into how many parts it was cut, it assembled itself immediately and suffered no weakness. The best of all the knights had not skill enough to put an end to it, and it remained in peaceful possession of its favourite hill for 7 long years. By that time all despaired of killing the worm, but one day the ne'er-do-well's son returned to Lambton. He was no longer a rough and shabby youth, but a man of fine stature, manly and courageous. And when he heard of the trouble that had come upon his father while he had been away, he said, "Father, I am the cause of this, for it was I who brought it here, and I will rid you of it." His father pleaded with him not to risk his life. He told him of the serpent's magical powers and of the fate of all the other knights who had tried to overcome it, how some had never been seen again and others had been so hurt that they never recovered. But the son was resolved to make the attempt. "It would be a stain on my honour," he said, "if I sat here idle and let the worm live." However, before he went out to meet the worm, the heir of Lambton had the wisdom to consult an old witch who lived nearby. "If there is anyone who can tell me how to match this monster," he said, "it is you." You were wise to come to me, she said, for I can help you. You must not fight the worm on land, but you must stand on his rock in the middle of the river and let him attack you there. Then, in addition, before the fight, you must stud your suit of armour with the sharpest spear blades the smith can make, so that when the worm tries to crush you with its coil, it will cut itself to pieces. Thank you, said the young lord. How shall I repay you for your advice? You will repay me, said the witch, by observing this one condition. When you have conquered the worm, you must slay the first living thing you meet. If you fail to do so, the lords of Lambton for 9 generations will never die in their beds. The young man hurried home to tell his father the good news. He was overjoyed that he discovered how to master the worm. And as for the condition that the witch had laid down, he said, that is a light matter. You must not watch this combat, father, but stay in the woods, and when you hear my bugle horn, you will know that I've been successful. Then let slip one of my hounds. It will run to me and be the first living thing that I meet. Then the young lord gave instruction to the blacksmith to stud his armour with spear blades, and went to the rock and prepared for the conflict. He hadn't long to wait for the worm. No sooner had it emptied the milk trough than it slid towards the river and prepared to occupy the rock. When it beheld the young lord there, it bellowed with rage and made ready to seize him, but with one quick blow he sliced off part of its tail. Immediately he perceived how wise the witch had been to advise him to stand on the rock, for no sooner had the tail fallen than the swift waters of the weir carried it away. Perceiving it had been outwitted, the worm coiled itself around his body and legs, but the harder it pressed about him, the deeper stabbed the spear blades and the more it cut into itself. Freeing his arm, the young lord lopped off more and more of the monster's trunk, and in its rage it severed itself against his armour. In a short while it had cut itself into pieces. As soon as it fell, each piece was carried downstream, and at last the young man stood alone and triumphant on the rock. Leaping ashore, he blew his bugle horn. But to his dismay, he saw running towards him not the hound, but his own father, for the poor old man had forgotten everything but joy that his son had been successful. The son was overwhelmed with grief, but he turned his eyes from his father, and running past him, plunged his sword into the hound, which came running out of the wood. But it was in vain. The worm had been slain, and great celebrations were held that night in Lambton Castle, but the witch's curse had not been lifted, and for 9 generations after that time, not one of the lords of Lambton died peacefully in his bed. As an aside, one of the hills the worm is said to have frequented is actually the site of the only triple rampart Iron Age hill fort known in the north of England. The spiral patterns or furrows suggested by the legend as being formed by the worm coiling itself round the hill could in fact be the triple ramparts of the hill fort. The hill is also known for the prominent landmark of Penshaw Monument, a folly based on a Greek temple, and is worth a visit if you're in the area.